fashion becoming as popular as it has in the last 2 to 3 years, one of the biggest topic of discussions in fashion has been the hyperfixation on personal style and other people calling out other people on their authenticity and if they really like what they're wearing or are they just cosplaying in their clothes. And I think that is a better question per se. I think the bigger question should be, are you really wearing your clothes or are your clothes actually wearing you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Ron and this is actually my first video. In this video, I'm going to be discussing, if you can see, I'm probably going to be veering off a little bit. Since this is my first video. I'm kind of still like getting used to like reading off a script and stuff. I have a laptop right here, but in this video I'm going to be discussing the effects of the pandemic in the current fashion landscape and also how the idea of personal style has developed within fashion recently in these last 2 to 3 years, and also different subcultures in fashion themselves. And if you can see, I have a pretty bad habit talking with my hands, so the mic's probably gonna distort here and there, as you can see. As when I talk with my hands, I'm obviously have a bad habit of the mic coming further out from where my voice is being audioed. To start off, we have to look back around 4 years ago when unfortunately COVID-19 or the coronavirus would take the world by storm and throw us into a global pandemic. With that being said, to combat it, we were unfortunately all told to quarantine and social distance, whether we liked it or not. Not me though, unfortunately, lucky enough for me, I was an essential worker, so I didn't. I could go to work. And now since we were all stuck inside, something happened basically. Whether it was out of pure boredom, loneliness, or just to escape reality itself, we turned towards subcultures. Now, a quick little side note is, before we get into fashion itself, I basically grew up loving anime, and I remember growing up watching anime. It was kind of hard to talk about it in outside of my own circle because it was still kind of deemed as weird Chinese cartoons, or it was considered weird basically, or not accepted by society as much as it is now. Because now, if you've seen in the last 2 to 3 or even 4 years, because since the virus, anime has taken such a spike, but that's enough about anime. Let's get back to fashion. Fashion, on the other hand, though, has always been pretty big because clothes are a part of our day-to-day lives. But once the pandemic occurred, it gave people a chance to take a deep dive into figuring out their style and also learning more about different subcultures in fashion through TikTok. Now, as much as I hate to say this, although TikTok is a dumpster fire of brain rot and it has such a negative notion behind it, it wasn't always like that. Now, to take a deep dive into that would be a whole nother video in itself, but I definitely recommend checking out this video by one of my favorite YouTubers, Fashion Lover 4, How TikTok and the Pandemic Changed Fashion. He covers a lot of how the app was before it got worse and goes in depth with some of the, now I hate to use this word, but cores. Now, some of these were like gorpcore, blokecore, indie sleaze, e-girl slash boy, punk, grunge, and that's just to name a few. Now, with the rise of these subcultures, people started figuring out their style more, and if it wasn't their own, they'd probably be cosplaying as someone else's. But the fact of the matter is that people were caring more about how they dress and what they wear. And why not? Clothes are the easiest ways to express yourselves to what you like, how you want to look, how you want to be perceived. Clothes can tell a story just by how you style them and how you're wearing them. First thing people see when they look at you 9 times out of 10 is gonna be your clothes, unless you're nude, which probably isn't the case. Now, although that does sound pretty shallow, it's the truth because that's gonna be what they see off first impressions, and that's probably how they're gonna perceive you too. Now, with that being said, what also came with people looking into different styles was a reemergence of older styles. Now, although I don't think that's that bad, because we see referencing happening everywhere in fashion, especially in high fashion. With one of the more recent shoes that like kind of blew up in, I think maybe like the last, it was 2 years ago maybe, or it might have even been 1 year ago, was the Curb sneaker by Lanvin, which was inspired by the Osiris D3. Now, there's probably a statement that you've heard several times, and I've also heard it several times too. It's the fact that fashion is subjective. And now, although I do believe that is somewhat true, I think the biggest issue becomes that once these older styles and trends start making a re-emergence, since globalization is so prevalent nowadays, is everyone starts looking like a carbon copy of one another. And that's basically the biggest issue. you see on TikTok and like Instagram these fashion influencers, they always call out everyone that are like, oh, baggy jeans and the Timberlands and the cropped jerseys. Especially now, I think that's one of the more recent things that have kind of been blowing up a lot is those cropped jerseys. And it's like, and these same fashion influencers, they call it out, but then they're also the same ones that are promoting it too, like the ones that are selling it, who are getting sent jerseys from brands that are gonna promote. Ah, fuck. Now I don't want to get too off topic here, but like get back to that point of like the baggy jeans, crop jerseys, and Timberlands. The reason why I reference these things specifically are because they're basically the most oversaturated at like the time right now. Because that's, if you open up your feed on Instagram or TikTok, you'll definitely probably see an outfit with those on. Now, although I don't think, like I said, fashion is subjective, and if that's what you want to wear, that's perfectly fine. But it's just the fact that there's no authenticity in that. There's no basically like creativity or anything. And if you're truly trying to figure out how you want to dress and be perceived, here's some tips that I think I would suggest for you to kind of figure it out. If you want to actually figure out and learn about your own style and what you like to wear and how you want to dress, it honestly takes time. It takes weeks, months. No, it doesn't even take weeks. It takes months, years. It takes people 4 or 5, 6 years. And even like for me, I personally I don't think I've figured out my style completely yet, but I understand that. And it's because it's a long process. And the beauty is in like and how long it takes. The beauty is in the journey, not exactly the destination. That's why like it's real easy to go on TikTok or Instagram and look at how someone's dressed and buy every single thing that they're wearing or close to what they're wearing if you can't afford what exactly those pieces are, and just be a carbon copy of that. Like there's no authenticity in that. And the biggest thing is that we have to learn to just appreciate fashion itself and clothes themselves. If you don't necessarily need to be wearing a certain article of clothing that you like, you can just see it and appreciate it. And that's a part of growing your style, because maybe eventually in the future, when you have the money, you can go and get that item. Or maybe if you actually take the time to see the item and you like figure out maybe that maybe you don't like it, maybe you don't. Once again, you seen I started ranting again. But back to the topic at hand, here are some tips that have been helping me on my own exploration of fashion and finding out my own style. And the first one is avoiding fashion influencers. Now the reason I say that is just because something looks good on them doesn't mean it's gonna look good on you. And 9 times out of 10, the majority of them are just trying to sell you their own product. Now, I don't think they're all necessarily bad, but it's kind of like finding, like, it's like a needle in a haystack. You have to really like look through to find the good ones, but they definitely are out there, because I actually follow some myself on Instagram. That kind of moves on to our next point, because the one thing with fashion influencers is they love giving advice. And I mean, it's kind of like what I'm also doing right now. I'm giving advice, but this kind of goes back to what I'm about to say right now. Is the next piece of advice that I have is, don't take fashion advice from the internet too seriously. Even my own. Go do your own research to learn about different garments, styles, and silhouettes. The best thing about actually caring about your own style is that there isn't a time constraint. You don't abide by trends. What you like wearing is your style and it'll be timeless to you. The last bit of advice that I have is finding inspiration outside of social media and your phone, especially if you live in like a large metropolitan area, maybe like New York City or like Los Angeles. Now for the most case, a lot of people don't have that. So another one is fashion magazines. Fashion magazines are a great source to find inspiration. Going back to the part of like the cities like New York, Los Angeles, or whatever cities might be near you. You might not live real close to like a giant city. Me personally, I live close to New York City, like maybe like an hour. It's still kind of a bit of a drive, but still, every time I go out there, I love going out there, because like one of the biggest things is when I get out there, I love seeing all these people's different outfits and styles. And if I honestly like something enough that I can take away from someone else's fit, I might go home, try to find that piece, look it up, look what it is, try to learn more about it. And that's just another way of growing your own style. With that being said, that is going to be the end of the video. I appreciate it so much if you made it to the end. This was my first video, honestly, but like I felt like I was jumping around quite a lot from point to point. It wasn't really as structured as maybe I would have liked it to be. But if you did enjoy the video, go ahead, leave us a thumbs up, Subscribe if you want to see more. I think I'm gonna try to drop more videos consistently. Well, for the most part, I hope I can at least.